Question for the Polish Prime Minister. This is about the new law that you just legislated that forbids people from claiming that you had part in the genocide of my people. I come from Israel. I'm an Israeli journalist. I'm a contributing writer for the New York Times. Sorry for being a little personal. Both my parents were born in Poland, my late mother and my father. My mother received a special prize for good Polish from the Polish Ministry of Education when she was 5. Then the war started, and they lost much of the families because their neighbors, the Polish neighbors, snitched to the Gestapo that they are holding Jews. My mother was able to save much of a family because she heard during the night that the neighbors are going to tell that they have Jews in their vicinity to the SS the next morning. And after the war, my mother swore that she will never speak Polish for the rest of her life, not even a single word. If I understand correctly, after this law is legislated, I will be considered a criminal in your country for saying this. What is the purpose? What is the message that you are trying to convey to the world? You are creating the opposite reaction and just attracting more attention to these atrocities. Thank you.
And it's extremely important to first understand that, of course, it's not going to be punishable, not going to be seen as criminal to say that there were Polish perpetrators, as there were Jewish perpetrators, as there were Russian perpetrators, as there were Ukrainian, not only German perpetrators. But Polish embassies had to react 260 times only in 2017 with regard to the expression Polish death camps, Polish concentration camps. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there were no Polish death camps. There were no Polnische Vernichtungslager. There were German Nazi death camps. And the mere fact that we have to explain it today stems from our history again. For 50 years after the Second World War, 45 years precisely speaking, we couldn't defend our case. So there was no Polish independent state. Any atrocities during the Second World War, and anybody who wants to know what was the occupation, German occupation in Poland, on the Polish soil, I would invite to the discussion, to historical research, because this is something completely beyond your imagination, completely beyond imagination of, like many of you probably heard about Lidice village in the Czech Republic. My Czech friends were very good in promoting this Lidice, forgive this word. In Poland, we had 800 of Lidice, which is 800 villages which were completely annihilated, exterminated by German Nazis. In Poland, on the Polish soil, I should have said, because there was no Poland during the Second World War. On the Polish soil, this was the only place on earth where all the families, all the neighbors, all the villages were killed for helping our Jewish brothers and sisters. In Poland, we lost 6 million of people during the Second World War, the highest percentage lost amongst all the nations on earth vis-à-vis our population. And maybe this would require a very long answer. I have to shorten because of time. There is a book by Gunnar Paulsson, a Swedish-Canadian historian, who did a very thorough research on Warsaw during the Second World War. How many Jews were hiding in Warsaw and how many Polish families were helping those Jews. In numbers, it looks like this. At least around 30,000 Jews were escaped Warsaw Ghetto, and they were helped by 3, 4 times, 5 times more of Polish citizens, even if this was a under death penalty threat for the whole family. And at the same time, he has actually made a research how many Poles were denunciating to Gestapo, to Germans on the Jewish friends and brothers. and there were 3,000 to 4,000 in Warsaw, where all the criminals during the wartime, in the wartime, they always mushroom, as you could imagine, because of the nature of the occupation, because of the nature of the war. So, notwithstanding this, Poland was the only country in the German-occupied Europe where there was no puppet-type government. So, in all this context, of course, there will not be any prosecuting of people who would be saying, "Oh, there were Polish perpetrators," because there were Polish perpetrators. But we cannot agree with mixing perpetrators with victims, because this would be, first of all, offense to all the Jews and all the Poles who suffered greatly during the Second World War.